Dun 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 dun! Dun 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 dun! Elbath! It's an umbrella. I checked my phone earlier and apparently it's supposed to rain indoors. I don't know how that works, but I am a man that trusts meteorologists, damn it. Alright, this will be One Piece chapter 1182 review titled Zaza. Zaza! Now that's a fun chapter title, Zaza. You don't get to bust out the Z every now and then, or the Z as it's said in certain parts of the world. Zed. That's cool. Alright, so Zaza is a Japanese onomatopoeia for very heavy rainfall. There's a few others like Potsu Potsu or Shito Shito, but Zaza is like a very heavy like rainfall outside, you know, when the sky is really dripping. Okay, so that's a reference to a thing that I'm sure won't be relevant in this chapter whatsoever. I guess Oda just wanted to go with the name Zaza for this one because it sounds cool. Alright, cover page. We still don't have a new cover story, but we do have Fujitora. So, what has Issho been up to? Honestly, we haven't seen anything from him in a while. Last time we saw Issho, he was at Reverie, and the revolutionaries attacked. You know, Morley was there, and Karasu, and Lindbergh, and Sabo, and everybody. And, Issho was actually pretty cool in that fight because he just basically made it so a lot of the slaves could escape, and then he actually had an interaction with Greenball. It's just like, I'm not going to let you do this, and they had a bit of a disagreement, and they kind of fought there, and we don't really know what happened after that. I mean, they're both alive, they're both fine. Like, we know Greenball went off to defeat Weevil, and he, you know, brought him into custody, but we have no idea what the hell happened to Issho. Like, no idea. He is kind of MIA at the moment, so, I mean, we're going to see him at some point. I mean, honestly, out of all of the admirals, Kizaru right now as well. Kizaru's working through some stuff after he had to kill his best friend. So I think this is going to reach a boiling point the next time we see the Marines. Like, the upper echelon of the Marines, I think, is going to be a mess, okay? Because Sakazuki has to deal with everything going on in the world right now, and I don't think he's really happy in the Fleet Admiral position, honestly. And then you have Fujitora, who we don't know what's up with him. We have Borsalino, who's, like, traumatized at the moment. And then Green Bull is Green Bull. In fact, I could even see a scene where Green Bull walks into Sakazuki's office and is like, hey there, Sakazuki, man, I love your style. All right, what's next? What are we doing? Who else are we oppressing today? Yeah, let's go. And then I think Sakazuki's just going to be like, could you just shut up for 2 seconds? I have so much other crap going on right now. You know, it's going to be a mess. All right, so we're gonna see what that's happening. But we see him here having some udon with a fox and a tanuki. Udon and soba are Fujitora's favorite meals, so there's the reference there. Okay, so we continue on where we left off in the last chapter. Where did we leave off in the last chapter? Loki turned into a giant dragon. Now, we've already seen him do that before, but it's never any more or less impressive the more we see it. So he transforms into the Needhog, blasts a Thundraheim right at Emu, who is embedded in the side of the tree, right between the Sun Realm and the Astral Realm. I thought at the end of the chapter, the attack, you know, struck Emu dead on. It looked like he was, like, raising up the thing to use the Omen. I didn't know if the Omen actually fired off, but if you do go look at the end of the chapter, you do see some remnants of the black fire. So Emu was able to throw up, like, an Omen shield or one of those black cannonball things to, like, block the attack, okay? So, Loki is there after the attack, and he's like, okay, I can still sense his presence. It's like a scene in Dragon Ball Z when somebody's going up against Frieza or Cell or Boo, and they're just like, take this, Cell! Bam! And it's just a giant ki blast, and there's a big thing of smoke, and they're like, did I get him? Oh wait, we can sense energy. Shit, that did not do anything. Right? Okay. So Loki is like, alright, that attack didn't work, but I also have to, you know, keep track of him properly, and I can't do that when I'm a giant dragon, alright? We get the response of Emu Nerona in the tree, and he's just looking on, and like I said before, now kind of referring to Loki and the Needhog as like separate entities. Like up until this point, Emu was fighting against Loki, not really referring to Loki specifically, and now after he transformed into the Needhog, all of a sudden Emu is like waxing nostalgia and everything, and is like, to think that we would meet again in this world, you traitor! So Emu's coughing and, you know, hacking up some, you know, blood and things after the attack. might also have something to do with the fact Emu being in the lower realm. You can't exactly, remove that possibility that that's a factor here as well. But refers to Needhog as a separate person and as a traitor. All right? Not unlike, Zunisha wandering the seas and being like, yes, I failed to carry out the promise of Joy Boy. So perhaps Zunisha views itself as a traitor. And then also Emmett as well, So there's definitely an overarching theme of betrayal going on during the Void Century. Emu Nerona is calling the Needhog a traitor, which seems to imply that at one point the Needhog, which was the war deity back during the Void Century, or was a giant during the Void Century, was on Emu Nerona's side. This might also explain why Emu just wants the Giants so damn bad. You know what I mean? Just like, no, I want the Giants to work for me. There was supposed to be a giant army. This existed long before Harald was in play. All the way back during the Void Century, the allied forces of what would later become the world government, they might have been allied with Elbaf. They might have been part of that. There might have been 21 kingdoms back then, and one of them just decided to defect and switch over to Joy Boy's faction. All right? But then again, we know Emu and Joy Boy were at least on amenable terms at some point, so what is the story here, right? Like, maybe there was, like, some kind of world coalition, like the Ancient Kingdom was part of this, Alabasta was part of this, Elbaf was part of this. It was like some big United Nations type deal, and everybody was part of it. And then, some differences occurred, and there were factions, and everything got split and cracked in half. And then, there were, this faction over here, and then the Ancient Kingdom faction over here. And then, the Needhog was originally on Emu's side, but then switched over to Joy Boy's side. So, yeah. But Emu Nerona doesn't seem like pissed off at the Needhog or anything. He calls him a traitor, but at the same time, he's like smirking and he's like, haha, to think you and I would meet again in this world, you traitor. But he's smiling. He's just like maybe more happy just to see an old friend, something that is familiar to him from the Void Century, because it's been so long right at this point, okay? So Emu, digs himself out of the tree. He has his wings. He's like flying there. He's still coughing up a lung. And then snow begins to fall. And Emu's like, snow, of course. Lightning is born out of colliding ice, after all. Together thine synergy is exceptional. Okay, so Emu's not technically wrong here if you know how, like, lightning storms form, okay? Just really quick, I'm gonna give you just, like, and I don't even know that much about this, I respect meteorologists because I have no idea what they do. They might as well be sorcerers as far as I'm concerned, okay? All right. So, hot air rises. I learned that at some point. Hot air rises, okay? And so it's really hot out, and so hot air rises and rises, moisture in the air. And then you get a big giant cloud, right? Now, clouds can get, like, really big, right? Like, some clouds can get, like, really high up there. And the higher you go up, pressure goes down, cold goes up. It get colder higher up you go. All right, are you with me so far? Are you taking notes? All right? And so the cloud big, air current inside of cloud throwing things around, localized airflow kind of thing. So you have like big chunks of ice and hail at top, and then lighter, smaller crystals and water droplets at bottom. They move around really fast and smash into each other in cloud. And then that how battery works, and then charges with positive, negative, lightning, zappy zap happens, and there you go. There's your explanation on how lightning works. Emu's right. Emu's good. All right, the science checks out. Let's just, okay. So yeah, the idea of Ragnir's power being that of Niflheim, or the cold ice giant realm, and then Loki's power being that of electricity and stuff, and lightning, that it makes sense. It works, okay? Having both of these powers together really adds up. It's like Naruto using the wind style, Sasuke using the fire style. Wind augments the fire. Just let's go with that. All right. So, Emu finally acknowledges the squirrel. So now we have I just want to... we have a scene in One Piece. This is Emu. This is the mysterious, shadowy ruler of the government that we learned about like 8 years ago during the Reverie. Oh my god, who is this character? Now having a conversation with a giant squirrel. I love this. Emu's looking over like, Ragnir, it's you! Thou art as I remember thee. Just like Emu's talking to a fucking squirrel, man. I can't make this up. I can't make this up. I love this story. Thank you so much, Oda. All right. You look just like you did back then, waiting all this time for a new master. How nostalgic. Emu's there like, oh, this really is taking me back. Holy shit. You know, I'm half expecting, seriously, for Emu to reach into his parachute pants and pull out like a picture of like, yeah, this was the summer of, this was actually, what year was the Void Century? Void Century was during the 600s. So I'd be like, yeah, this was taken during the summer of 652. Yeah, we all went out to the lake. We got drunk that night. It was a crazy time. We sat around the fire and just had some beer and just talked about life. That was memories right there. Pulls out a little picture of Joy Boy and a Needhog and a squirrel around the fire. Just like, I'm waiting for it. I really am. Okay, that's what the One Piece is this whole time. All right, so Ragnir gets kind of serial. Ragnir, like, you know, gets kind of angry and just is looking at Emu and is just like, squeak, 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 squeaker. We need to get Kronk in here from Emperor's New Groove. He can translate squirrel really well. I don't think he, actually in this scene, I think he'd be like, yeah, I cannot repeat that in polite company. I am sorry. You know, it looks like Ragnir is telling off Emu. So you tell me what Ragnir was saying in this scene. I feel like this is going to be an SBS. Like, hey, Oda, what was Ragnir saying to Emu in that moment? And Oda might just be like, I can't print that in this book. We get a title box for Ragnir. Ragnir the Hammer. Mythical squirrel fruit. I think it's Riso no Mi Ratatotsker model. So it's another mythical zone. We don't have enough of those in this story, so thank God Oda's given us more. Okay. There is officially way more mythical zones than Loki is now. Like, it was a while there, it was like touch and go, but now there's way more, okay? So, that's another devil fruit for me to discuss in the series. I'll get to that. I'm gonna wait until we see at least all forms of, like, at least Loki. Like, we haven't seen the hybrid in his fullest form yet, so we'll get to that when we see what he could really do with everything. But, yeah, okay, this is not really a retcon. I wouldn't say this is that. Remember when Jarl was talking about the war god and his trusty companion Ratatotsker, the ice squirrel, right? And we got this panel. We got the panel of this super rugged, burly giant that had a beard and the armor, and he was wielding the mighty hammer of Thor. And then we also had the squirrel next to him, right? And they were doing battle with the sun god, with Joy Boy, all right? That seemed to imply that the hammer and the squirrel were separate entities. And then something happened and the squirrel, you know, was absorbed into the hammer. Okay. Now, that was Jarl's own memories of this. Not really memories, because he wasn't there for that. That was Jarl, probably like the story that he was told growing up. And that's just the way that he saw it, okay? So don't take that panel, like that might not be exactly how the war god looked, for instance. That it might be something different, okay? That was just Jarl's best guess on how that was going down based off the stories that he was told, okay? And this happened long before even Jarl was born, all right? So the hammer is the user of the squirrel fruit model Ratatotsker, implying that they wouldn't be separate entities fighting along at the same time. Like, the war god would not have been wielding the hammer and having the squirrel companion fight at his side at the same time, okay? Unless there is actually a through line here. There is a way this could work, because we still don't know much about devil fruits, okay? One way you could look at it is just based off the rules we already know. Let's say the war god had a hammer, the hammer consumed a devil fruit, became the ice squirrel. Then the war god died, and the squirrel, Ratatotsker, was really sad. And so the squirrel decided to transform into its hammer form, which is an inanimate object, and we can assume the inanimate object does not age, and so therefore, as long as the squirrel remains in that form, can live on indefinitely, but has to stay in that form. Like, we can assume every time Ratatotsker goes into his hybrid or his full squirrel form, he begins to age, and he can't last that way for centuries. Then again, it's a mythical squirrel, so I don't know how long these things normally... What is the life expectancy of a magic ice squirrel? We're flying footloose and fancy-free at this point, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. That's one way to look at it. Another way of looking at it is, remember, devil fruits are born out of desire. The desire for Ragnir the Hammer, or for Ratatotsker, was to, be by his master's side and wait for a new wielder of the hammer. So let's assume the war god did have the hammer, and the squirrel was his companion back then. And then he dies, and then Ratatotsker really, really, really desired wanting to see his master again, like a new user of the Needhog fruit. And it was that desire that transformed him into a devil fruit, or his soul, the soul of Ratatotsker, the actual ice squirrel, was, embodied into the hammer out of that desire, and he turned himself into a devil fruit. Now, Zoans are weird with this because, remember, Zoans have, basically, animal spirits inside of them. They have a level of sentience and will. Remember, it was mentioned that the human fruit model sun god always tried to avoid the world government. Every time the world government almost got their hands on the Gumu Gumu no Mi, it always slipped right out of their hands, as if the fruit itself was eluding them. So you can assume that since there's animal spirits involved, there might have been a phoenix, an actual phoenix that really existed thousands of years ago in the One Piece world, right? And that phoenix one day just died and then turned into a fruit. And then there's the birth of Marco's phoenix fruit right there. The mythical animals at one point could have been okay, we are going to turn into a devil fruit, and then that way our will extends onward or something. I don't know how it works. But there could be actual mythical creatures that lived back during the first age, and then they all died or transformed into devil fruits that carried over till now. That might be how it works, okay? So anyway, Emu knows Ragnir, and Ragnir recognizes Emu. That's the basic thing to take away from this, okay? Ragnir's not having any of Emu's shit. They don't seem like they're happy. Loki and Ragnir do not seem like they want to reminisce here. So Loki's just all right, Ragnir, let's do this. Come on. And then holds out his hands and just emits a giant, cloud of ice and mist, okay? And then Loki charges up his lightning power. It goes into the ice mist cloud, and it diffuses into a bunch of ice lightning arrows called Ragnir 5 arrows, firing off a bunch of ice sickle lightning charged arrows right at Emu, okay? Emu responds with Aztec mythology. That's his trap card that he activates. I activate my trap card, Loki. Aztec's mythology. Zapotec mythology. Nobody remembers the Zapotecs. They're cool. They have Zap in their name. All right, so here's the deal. If there's one thing in this world I like studying more than ancient Egyptian history, it's ancient Mesoamerican history. So thank you, Oda, for this. This is fantastic. All right, so Zitzi Mime, I believe is the way you pronounce this. Well, it's the singular here. Zitzi Mime is the plural. Okay, so this is what happens. I'll describe what happens, and I'll tell you a little bit about the naming scheme and everything like that, okay? So Emu's eyeball ribbon that's behind him, his little eyeball halo, it rises up off of him, increases in size exponentially. He uses Zitzi Mito Nova Eclipse, which just translates to eclipse explosion. And it just seems like out of the ring spawn a bunch of those cannonball devil looking things, those little evil Pac-Men that just kind of explode out of the ribbon. And it's just like an air raid going on in the middle of Elbaf. All of Loki's ice lightning arrows collide with these evil Pac-Man monsters, and they just all blow up in the middle of the air. By the way, it says 5 arrows. There's way more than 5. There's a lot. It's basically like a Gatling gun made of ice lightning arrows that Loki is emitting from this combo attack with Ragnir, okay? So they all just explode in the middle of the air. Just big explosive chunks of ice and hail and lightning and black fire. Oh, it's insane, right? So Zitzi Mime are a group of gods, demons, devils, not exactly. They have a few different functions in Aztec mythology. So in a lot of ways, they're actually seen as like fertility gods and protectors of women and children. They resemble they kind of look like zombies, kind of. They have like skeleton heads, and they also are represented by a skull and crossbones, which is probably why Oda's going with that, you know, iconography, given the fact of pirates also skull and crossbones. But they have this whole thing where they're associated with eclipses. Whenever there's an eclipse in Aztec lore, that is the Tzitzi Mime attacking the sun. Also, when an eclipse occurs, and also I believe at night, they can descend and possess men. And there's this lore that if one of them does not possess a man, and it's a very specific ritual, like you have to basically crack open a dude's chest cavity and start a fire inside of that, and if the Tzitzi Mime does that, they can possess them, and that also leads to the end of the fifth sun. Aztec mythology, the different eras are broken up into the different suns. There's the first sun, second, third, fourth, and fifth. The fifth sun is the current existence, and the way that that happened is a whole other thing that involves the Quetzalcoatl and throwing a rabbit at the sun. It's a whole thing, all right? It gets a little confusing here. But just to throw it out there, the core mechanics of the Tzitzi Mime is fertility gods, protectors of women and children and of childbirth, possession, that's a big one, and the destruction of the world. Also, fear of change. That is like the way that like the actual deities being worshipped and the rituals practiced, you know, have been evaluated by, you know, anthropologists nowadays is like, oh, this is kind of seen like the Aztecs' fear of change, and this is how they coped with that through the creation of the Tzitzi Mime. So a lot of that stuff lines up with Emu, and I'll be talking about that later. We'll go all into Aztec mythology, and we'll talk about the five suns and all that stuff. But yeah, that's the origin there, and I believe that is the first time Emu has referenced a deity with an attack name, because up until now it's always been like the demon covenants, the contract seals, the Domi Reversi, Omen, you know, but Emu's never directly mentioned like the name of a deity for an attack. At least I'm pretty sure he hasn't. And this is the first one. And so if we're going with the basis for Emu's techniques being based off of like Mesoamerican, like Aztec mythology, like that is insane. I really love that type of shit. Okay. Now, remember, if we're tying this back to Skypiea with Eneru, because everything ties back to Skypiea, Skypiea was, you know, the Shandorians were very much based off of, like, Native Americans, like First Nations peoples and things like that. Also, if you've ever seen the fifth One Piece movie, there's a lot of, like, Mayan references in that one. So, Oda is definitely a fan of, like, Mesoamerican and, like, you know, indigenous American cultures. And so, incorporating all of that into Emu's, like, power set, oh, this is gonna be fun. Anyway, so, big giant explosion. Emu is matching whatever Loki can pull out, pound for pound, it seems, and just nullifying every attack. So there's really not much. There's not a clear winner or, you know, advantage in this fight. I would say they seem kind of dead even. If anything, I would say Emu kind of has an advantage because he's dealt way more wounds on Loki than I think Loki has dealt on Emu at the moment. All right? So, we're going to cut away from that explosion for a moment. Watching this from afar is Bonney. And Bonney is there just witnessing these giant firework displays going off in the distance and these huge reverberations of hockey. And it's a funny scene because Bonney is just like, wow, that's scary. And Lilith's in the background like, Bonney, you get back here right now. It's like all this insane shit is happening. It's like, hey, get away from the window. Get away from the window. You do not see that. You don't want to get blown up by a massive burst of hockey or whatever the hell's going on out there. And Bonney is like, yeah, okay, I'm not going to go out there and fight. I'm not even getting close to that shit. Jewelry Bonney, smartest character in the chapter. She's like, oh, what are you talking about, Lilith? I'm not going out there. Are you high? I'm not even going within 5 miles of that. All right, yeah, so Bonnie knows that she has no way of, getting engaged in that fight, so she's not like, oh, I could take him, it's fine. It is like, yeah, no. So Lilith is watching over Bonnie at the moment, right? Very much like, hey, it is my job to keep track of you right now, and I'm not going to let anything happen to you from now on. This ties back, this is actually a really layered thing, if you really think about it, because after the whole situation at Egghead, after Bonnie learned about the past with her father and the memory bubble and everything, there was that nice heartfelt moment with Vegapunk, where Bonnie turned back into her child form and then, apologized to Vegapunk and everything, and they were crying, and Vegapunk took out the necklace and gave that to Bonnie, and it's like, this is a memento from your father, and you could definitely see Vegapunk now with the situation with Kuma being like, oh, I'm like Bonnie's like godfather, essentially. Like, I am going to watch after her, I'm going to make sure nothing bad happens to her. So the Stella died, and so that task kind of falls to Lilith now. So Lilith might see herself as like, yeah, like a parent or like older sister, like I'm going to make sure she's okay. And that's the will of the Stella inside of her as a Vegapunk. That's actually kind of cool, right? So she's like, hey, Bonnie, I'm here to look after you. I'm making sure you're okay. You are not going over there and in that fight. And Bonnie's like, well, yeah, hell no, I'm not doing that. Are you crazy? And she's like, yeah, no. So Lilith is watching this whole thing, though, and she is curious. She's like, who is this? Who is this guy? I have no idea. He's clearly higher ranked than the Gods Knights, but the only people that should be higher ranked than the Gods Knights are the Gorosei, and he's definitely not a member of them. So we actually have a shot here. There, by the way, Sanji's there too. They're kind of like watching over Sanji. They managed to get him out of the blast zone earlier, and so Sanji's on the ground, kind of like, oh, after getting kicked by Emu full force. And so they're kind of like, healing him and stuff, giving first aid. And then you have a scene with Lilith, and then that overlays with the Stella, as if it's the Stella and Lilith at the same time coming to this conclusion. I suppose it's only natural that an 8th century old organization like the world government has spawned some dark shadows given its history and its origin and the power struggles that have occurred in the last 8 centuries. So it's like Lilith is about to come to a conclusion, and then Sanji wakes up, and that kind of distracts her from like her thought process. But I'm thinking Lilith would have definitely been able to like, wait a minute, hold on a second. Evil organization that's been around for 8 centuries. What if this is like a being from the Void Century that has somehow survived to the present day? I think Lilith, with all the information that the Vegapunks have gathered about the Void Century that they should have still, should be able to connect the dots of Emu's existence, okay? If you can read through the lines and the subtext, probably figure that out, right? Anyway, Sanji gets back up. He's just like, ugh, man. Whew. After getting kicked by Emu, that hurt. And so Bonnie's like, hey, wait a minute, Sanji, you are still really hurt, man. You cannot be getting up and moving around. Sanji's like, no, I'm not going to let him get away with this. And so he remembers Killingham. So after Killingham was resuscitated via the Omen, and then Sanji got kicked by Emu, Killingham had the opportunity to finish Sanji off. Killingham was all powerful at that point. He could have pulled out his trident and just stabbed the shit out of Sanji. He chose not to. And he was just like, ha, guess I don't have to deal with you after all, Sanji. How the hell are you even still breathing after that? Well, whatever. Sanji's on the ground bleeding. He's like, where are you going? Get back here, you dumbass. And Killingham's just like, I'm gonna go see through the mission that I came here for. Can't you tell? I'm overflowing with demonic power! And so then Killingham goes running off, right? And just like, oh, Sanji, you are so insignificant to me now. You are such a lesser being. You're not even worthy of a death blow. And that really gets Sanji fired up, kind of thing. It's just like, oh, we're less than insects to him. All right, I gotta show him what's what, right? So he gets up and Killingham just blasted away, hurting Sanji in the process. He flew away, same thing that Summers did when he flew away too, because they have that power now, right? And so Sanji's like, they haven't given up on kidnapping the children yet. They're still going to try to go through with their plan. I need to save them. I need to stop them, okay? And so he starts to skywalk away from Lilith and Bonnie. There's really not much they can do here. I guess Bonnie could have used her powers to like make sure that Sanji didn't leave, but he moved really quick and he's like, no, I gotta go save it. Usopp and Luffy admire this country. And also it's home to a bunch of sexy giant ladies, so I will make sure to make this place protected. I mean, all right, Sanji, at least whatever. I mean, like, your priorities or whatever, but hey, he's making sure the country's okay. He's just like, yeah, Usopp and Luffy love this place. Also, sexy giant ladies like Gerd. I will make sure this place is protected by all means necessary. He goes flying off to save the day. I'm like, all right, Sanji, good luck to you. Okay, as Lilith and Bonney are just kind of looking on, just like, did he just, yeah, I know, it's Sanji. Hey, at least his heart's in the right place, I guess. It's just like, yeah, okay. And it's like, whatever, so they go flying off. Okay. Cut to the Owl Library. Actually, the secret hidden passage underneath the Owl Library. So there was a back door, a trap door entrance below the Owl Library that leads down into the tree because it was built into the side of the tree. And they go down this path, and inside of the tree, there's also natural light, you know, spewing from like some of the root systems and things like that. But Saul and Robin walk into this hidden room, and all of the books that were in the Owl Library have been transported down here, and then Biblo is also down here as well. It's crazy. I used to think that, like, oh yeah, Biblo's a magic owl. He used his magic owl powers to, like, teleport himself and all the books away. Nope, he just literally opened up a trapdoor. Now, how an owl managed to get all the books down there at once, there's probably some other magical sorcery bullshit going on with this owl. But, like, it's funny because I just assumed, like, oh, he just teleported or time traveled or something. No, it was just a trapdoor. It was the Scooby-Doo. It's like, there was a trapdoor below the library the whole time. Just like, shit, okay, I mean, that saves the day too, I guess. Makes more practical sense, I suppose. So, they're down there. Saul didn't know this existed. He's like, wow, I didn't even know this was down here. Yeah, you saved the books from all the fires. Thanks, Biblo. Biblo's there. He's not saying anything. He's not even giving a hoot. No, he's not even like, whoo, whoo, whoo. No, he's just not saying anything. He's just big giant owl down there. And so Robin thanks Biblo, like, thank you so much, Biblo, for saving the books. And Saul's like, yeah, I'm grateful too and all, but man, I'm starting to see there's more to you than meets the eye, Biblo. I would love so much for just it to cut to Biblo's eyes and just for him to go, dun 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 dun. Like, the camera dramatically zooms in on Biblo and just like, end of the episode when we get to that point in the anime. Yeah, it's just like, the camera zooms in on the magical owl and we don't know. Yes, and Biblo doesn't say anything. Say anything. Okay, Biblo. All right. You know, is this the moment where Saul and Robin are going to sit down? All right, Biblo. You've been this ancient owl that's been hanging out on Elbaf for centuries untold. What's your story? And then Biblo is just like, can only speak owl, like Ratatotsker is an ancient ice squirrel, but can only speak squirrel. So the owl's just, whoo, 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 whoo. He's like giving his whole detailed backstory, every mystery of the Void Century. It's just, Robin and Saul can't speak owl. So they need to go find Chopper to translate this. Yeah, really. Okay, anyway. So the books are okay. Biblo's still here. More of a mystery now. Maybe he's a transformer. I don't know. We'll find out later. Okay, good for the books. That's one problem solved. Okay. Also, Saul is up and walking around again. He was kind of stabbed by all of the briars and the thorns, so last time we saw him, he wasn't looking too good, but he's back up again. He's walking around. Robin and him are in the library. Okay. So now we cut to the Western Village near the port to the Bifrost Bridge, that giant rainbow bridge that was there, okay? Summers, now revitalized as Super Summers, has retrieved a giant ship. He went off to the port, grabbed a huge, Viking longship, lifted the whole thing up by himself, and then Supermaned his way back over here. And so he crashes the ship down onto the port, and so now they have a new ship to kidnap all the children. He's like, pulls out the thing and he's like, all right, Summers here. Wait, no, I'm Super Summers. I found a giant ship. Get those brats over here in the next 5 minutes. We'll load them up and bring them to the Holy Land. It's like, all right, so they're still dedicated with this task here. So also in the Western Village, in a random tavern, which is in spitting distance of this war zone that's going on between Loki and Emu, everybody's kind of gathered together in this pub and they're healing up, okay? So Chopper's there. He performed surgery on Gerd's thumbs and her pointer fingers. So he was like, okay, the cut was extremely clean, so I was able to, staple and stitch those back up, and they're all wrapped up in bandages, probably like all numbed with anesthetic and everything. And so Chopper's like, they should heal, but it's going to take a few months for them to properly attach. So, you know, don't do anything. Don't try to lift anything up for a while, right? And Gerd is like, I feel so useless now. I can't even fight. And Chopper's like, hey, it can't be helped. Don't beat yourself up about it. None of us really saw this happening, Gerd. So, like, nobody expected the god of the world to show up and slice off your fingers. That was kind of a crazy 1 to a million odds, and that happened, all right? So Roto's also there. All of the parents are there. Hyruden is there, although Hyruden is still passed out. Everybody's kind of patched up as much as possible that Chopper can do with first aid, all right? He says that after everything is calmed down a little bit, if it calms down, I'll be able to actually perform proper medical treatment on everybody, but for right now, this is the best we got, okay? Rode is like, oh no, Gerd, Tasso, they cut off your beautiful fingers, my idol of Elbaf, no, I will donate my own fingers to you, my lovely lady. And Gerd is just like, yeah, okay, that's okay, Rodo, that's okay, you could just dial it down a notch, that's fine. Although, Gerd does say, and it's, you know, okay, Gerd is like, I have to give it to you, though, Roto. I didn't think you would actually risk your life to save your little brother, so my respect for you has gone up a little bit. Now, with that statement, though, you learn just how low Roto ranked in Gerd's opinion, where she was genuinely surprised that Roto went to save his little brother. So Gerd thought so lowly of this guy that was like, yeah, you are like bottomed out. You are like one, even in the last episode, you know, she was like, I think Roto should be the shame of Elbaf and not Loki. She thought even lowly of Roto compared to Loki. All right. So now she's like, okay, at least you didn't let your little brother die. You gained a little bit of respect in my book, which at this point was like bottomed out at like -10. Now it's maybe equalized out to 0. And so Rode is like, oh my god, you're making me blush. Thank you, Gerd, Tasso. Oh my goodness. And he starts freaking out, and Bjorn is in the background looking at his older brother freak out over Gerd, and he's like, you know, I was just, damn it, Rode, I was just beginning to maybe kind of appreciate you as an older brother and not think you were cringe as fuck. And then you go and do this thing. It's just, whatever, okay. So, yeah, that little moment between the two of them. Then we cut over to where Zorro is, and we see Goldberg. Zorro is with Goldberg. He's on his shoulder. Goldberg is hauling ass across the village. He's like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm going to make you do this, but it's quicker to get over there. I'm not fast enough. You're a giant. You can run faster. And so Goldberg specifically mentions that it's all up to him now. I am the only member of the new Giant Warrior Pirates that is not knocked out of commission. I have to do this. Hyruden got blown up, Stanson lost a leg, Gerd lost some fingers, she can't wield an axe anymore, Roto got stabbed by thorns. I am the only one left. Goldberg versus the world. He's gonna survive this shit, okay? Him and his magic talking shield, Nash. Alright? So, you know, this is a crisis of Elbaf. We're lucky to have you guys fighting alongside us. The Straw Hats, we can do this. Now, Zorro, meanwhile, he doesn't look as banged up as Sanji does. Sanji looked like he got rocked way more. Zorro's kind of getting back up, and he's examining these, like, iron bullets, like these old musket balls, you know, and he's like, you know, like tossing them up like ball bearings and stuff, and he's like, okay, what are those black flames that guy used? They turned into steel bullets and explosives. And those knights we have to beat up, they seem to have gotten stronger now. If we don't wrap this up soon, it's going to get real ugly. And Zorro's like, you know, flicking one of the ball bearings up in the air. So the implication is that when Emu created the black fire and, like, you know, blew the fire in Zorro's face, they turned into bullets, and, like, it was like he was getting shot in the face with a gun. And, you know, that's not going to take out Zorro. He was wearing his lucky goggles at the time, after all, too, so that's another defense buff. But, you know, he was able to survive that, and he gets back up, and he's like, okay, so it wasn't black fire that was burning him, they were transforming into... We've seen this before, when Emu pulled out their book. You know, they could summon giant devil shotguns and daggers, and, you know, they could do all sorts of things. So Emu definitely prefers, like, summoning physical conventional weaponry and attacking that way. But it's, like, powered up with the might of Maki or Omen, all right? So I'm sure it wasn't the same as just getting shot in the face with a normal gun. They were magic black fire bullets. But now the remnants of them do seem to be like normal iron musket balls. So we'll see how this goes here. Okay. So now we cut to... Yeah, I guess this is the last, like, scene of the chapter. It's a few more pages, but it leads into everything. It's a conversation at the port where Summers has arrived with the giant boat and Killingham, who is off to the side, all right? So the idea is like, okay, this is the original plan. We're going to go through with this. Great Emu should not be in the lower realms. We all know this. This is obvious. They're speaking about this like this is something they've learned ever since they were little kids as God's Knights, as Celestial Dragons. The Great One can never descend to the lower realm. This is something that should never happen in nature, and it's occurring, so it's not good, okay? So we need to make sure to live up to their expectations, right? And so Killingham's kind of freaking out, though, because Killingham's like, hey, Summers, oh, man, I kind of screwed up. I got a little ahead of myself, and I ended up summoning what I'm the most afraid of. And so Summers is just like, you idiot! Oh man, that thing is terrifying to every single one of the Celestial Dragons. All of the God's Knights fear that thing. Please tell me you can control it. And Killingham's like, he says yes, but he's not very confident. He's like, well, I mean, it was created using my Devil Fruit powers, so I guess. But it also is my greatest nightmare, so I don't really know. And so Summers is like, well, I mean, Shogunai, can't be helped. What's done is done, right? Where's Gunko at? And Killingham's like, oh, I saw her. She looked dead. Like, all right, well, Shogunai, what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? Can't be helped. So that kind of implies that no, when Emu, used the omen to revitalize Summers and then flew over by the ice block where Gunko was, he didn't send the omen to revitalize Gunko. He just tried to kill Gunko. I don't think she's dead. I think the ice probably helped protect her a bit, but he wasn't trying to bring her back and resuscitate her. He was just trying to like, oh, Gunko, right, boom, and just trying to kill her probably. And then he arrived and revitalized Killingham, all right? So maybe he realized that like maybe Gunko can't be controlled because of the relapses with recognizing Brooke, remembering that she's Princess Shuri. Maybe that was why, Emu was just like, well, whatever, doesn't matter, kill her, move on, All right. So Killingham is freaking out over the fact that he has summoned his own nightmare as a Muma, as a nightmare creature, all right? And he's like not even sure he can control this thing. So the biggest question, of course, is what do Celestial Dragons fear amongst all things? Taking into account that the sun god Nika already was formed as a nightmare creature by one of the children. Okay, and also the Needhog was a nightmare creature for that matter. Okay, and Killingham and Summers didn't have a reaction to that. So what other entity could be something the Celestial Dragons fear? Emu themselves, perhaps? No, not the case. So we'll see that in a moment. Anyway, Summers goes on to say that, hey, look, we're the only ones left here. We were given this blessed power by Emu, or this demonic power by Emu. We must live up to expectations, Killingham, at all costs. We must succeed in this mission. And Killingham agrees, of course, yes, we will. So now, at the Western Village, Killingham is giving an order to the nightmare creature he created out of his own fears. And so it begins to just downpour on the Western Village, like Zaza downpour. And I want to reiterate the amount of downpour that we're dealing with here, okay? This is pretty bad, right? It's already starting to rain in here, dang! Okay, so this is not Potsu Potsu. This is not Shito Shito. This isn't even Para Para. This is Zaza level rain, okay? This is bad, all right? So it's coming down on them, right? And then a giant hand of water reaches into the tavern and grabs Colin and Ylva and Johanna and all of the children from the Walrus Skull. It just scoops them up with its mighty watery hand, and Ripley and Angie and Oimo and everybody are freaking out in there. Just like, no, bring us back our children. And so it just reaches in and pulls out all of the kids. And then we see Killingham above the village. It's like, yes, for those of us that were born above the clouds, water falling from the sky is a terrifying idea for us. We are the Celestial Dragons, and they have been told ever since they were little kids. So the bedtime stories that the Celestial Dragons were told were not like boogeymen hiding under the beds or hiding in your closet or anything like that. No, it was having rain fall on you. that was terrifying to them. It might also help explain whenever they do go down to the lower realm, they have the astronaut suits. For one thing, it might be, yeah, they don't want to breathe the air of the commoners. That's definitely a reason. But a secondary reason might be because the idea of having rain fall on their heads, it's just they've been psychologically conditioned to know that that's terrifying. If you've ever seen the Owl House, this is kind of a thing there, where on the Boiling Isles, it rains acid rain. And so when, like, Amity and the others went to the human world and it's raining normal, they were fucking terrified. They were like, I don't want to get burned and die. And so it's like, kind of like that. Is you condition that, like, this is a bad thing if it rains on you, so you stay away, right? And so the greatest fear that the celestial dragons have isn't the sun god in this instance. It isn't the Needhog. It is, or Joy Boy, it is rain. It is the rain goddess, Zaza. And we pan out, and we see the nightmare Muma of the rain goddess. As Killingham says, you know, we don't hear just nightmare stories about the D clan or the sun god Nika. We hear shit about this lady. And that's the thing that really terrifies us when we were kids, all right? Now, last double page spread of the chapter, we see the what I fear most of Killingham, rain god Zaza, the dream demon. Okay, and so this being towers over the giant village, already a giant village, so towers over that. So like all the Mumas, they're really big. Now, she, or he, I guess, we're not really sure, honestly, but four-armed person, picture having translucent skin, all right? So 4 arms, you know, 5 fingers on each hand and everything, but skin is translucent, and inside it's filled up with water. Okay, so just like has the shape and form of a 4-armed human, but filled up with water like a container. Wearing a casa hat that has like little adornments and jewelry coming off of it that are shaped like raindrops. Also has a ring behind the dream demon that has also these little adornments and jewelry and everything. The eyes are that of a ringed eyes, and is just made out of water and is just reaching down with its 4 arms and picking up all of the children as the rest of the village just gets completely flooded and all the parents and the other giants are getting washed away as they're trying to help the kids, right? And so Killingham says, I'm bringing them over now, Summers, sit tight. And Summers is like, all right, we can sail whenever. All right? And so Goldberg and Zorro were running away from the village trying to intercept Emu and what's going on over there, but now they're hearing all this chaos back there, so they're like, hey, what's up, Zorro? Should we head back to the village? What's going on back there? Should we go back? I guess Zorro says, no, it'll be fine. Let's just keep on what the original mission was, probably going after Emu, or the God's Knights specifically. I mean, yeah, if you could take out Summers and then there's no boat for them to go anywhere, like that solves the problem too. And so Sanji passes over by Zorro as he's skywalking over, and so they kind of see each other at the end of the chapter. You know, Sanji's in the air and Zorro's on the ground with Goldberg. And so Zorro just kind of shouts up to Sanji, hey, don't screw this up, curly eyebrow. Hey, right back at you, mosshead. So it's basically like, hey, no screw-ups. You gotta beat that guy. Oh, you gotta beat that guy? Oh, don't worry about me beating that guy. You beat that guy. It's like, all right, I'll beat that guy. I'll beat him before you even get to that other guy. All right, screw you. Love you, man. Love you too, bro. Okay. So that's the square off. That's the fight. Zoro's gonna go and probably fight against Summers. Meanwhile, Sanji's gonna go, and his fight is definitely with Killingham. Absolutely with Killingham, right? Okay. Kind of a twist on what I actually considered, because I originally assumed Sanji would have been the one to go after Summers with the way that he, you know, fought against Robin and everything we learned in his past about like the way he treated Shocky and his just demeanor in general. But no, it's definitely squaring off Killingham versus Sanji, Summers versus Zoro at this instance, you know, as the second and third, you know, villains, and then the main antagonist, Emu, in this arc is going to be Luffy once we don't see Luffy in this chapter at all. He's just finishing eating food, I guess. Okay, so what the hell is a Zaza? Okay, well, we gotta dust off Skypiea again. Look, just Every answer to this story is in the Skypiea arc. I'm just telling you right now. The One Piece of what it really is, once we find out what it is, you're going to be reading it and you're going to be like, oh, yep, there it was in the Skypiea arc the whole time. I swear to God, it's going to be there. Okay, so there is the scene with the Kashigami when the Shandorians on Jaya were about to summon the snake deity to perform the human sacrifice, and they were shouting out like, oh yes, God of the sun, God of the forest, God of the earth, God of the rain. So now that we're introducing a God of the rain, I'm just gonna say, okay, this is clearly something Oda is directly referencing from Skypiea. This was something that was set up a long time ago, and with that being said, sure, Chopper is also the forest god. I'm just gonna jump on that now. I was kind of hesitant before, but now that we have Luffy as a sun god, also Loki as a sun god, also technically Rodo as a sun god, also Bonnie can become a sun god. You know, we have lots of sun gods in this arc. Then we have the god of the rain, right here, rain god, Zaza, explained. Might as well throw the forest god and the earth god in here too. The earth god might be like Pluton, like Earth, Hades, Underworld maybe. So maybe Emu is the earth god in that regard. So we have an earth god, a rain god, make Chopper the forest god, Luffy's sun god, whatever. There we go. The quad, the cube of the square of gods is complete. There it is, right, okay. Also, I'd be remiss to mention, I think we might have just found out what Dragon's devil fruit is in this chapter, everybody. Yeah, I'm feeling it. So, Dragon, the most wanted man in the entire world, more so than I would assume any other active pirate, has the ability to do something with the weather. Yeah, I'm seeing it right there. So, if Luffy has Hito Hito no Mi model Sun God Nika, Dragon has Hito Hito no Mi model Rain God Zaza. And that makes sense, because the thing with Dragon's Devil Fruit ability, I've said this before a bunch of times, you know, you could find any of the categories and it could fit, right? It could be a Logia. It would be easy to be a Logia. It'd be like the Kaze Kaze no Mi, the Wind fruit, or the Storm fruit, or the Rain fruit. I could also see Storm fruit working as a Paramecia as well. It'd be a really cracked, broken Paramecia, but no, those do exist. You know, Whitebeard's was pretty broken and his was a Paramecia, so yeah. But you could also have it as a mythical zone as well. Like Quetzalcoatl was a very popular option, which, you know, Aztec mythology was mentioned in this chapter, so maybe. But no, going along with the kind of One Piece mythology that Oda's crafting with these deities makes the most sense. If there was a great fear that the Celestial Dragons are told about when they were children to be afraid of rain falling on your head. And we'll, you know, delve into that a little bit more after, like, I dissect everything here. Really break down like what that could mean through all of the different celestial dragons we've met up until now. The Gorosei, Emu himself, like the idea of rain. Rain appears on the mural very prominently as raindrops falling on the mural. So this definitely goes back to something that might not just be like Killingham and Summers' generation were definitely told this as kids. But these, like, ghost stories, these, like, boogeymen kind of stories that you tell children all have origins somewhere, you know what I mean? So if you go back to, like, the first age, this Zaza rain deity might have been an actual terrifying god that ruled over the world, and that legend persists as these stories, which then Killingham's whole thing is his ability is to manifest these nightmares in these stories, right? So remember, this is not the real Zaza. This is just how terrifying Killingham sees this Zaza. So, very powerful and augmented with the Omen, but if there was a real Zaza, or Dragon has the real mythical zone of Zaza, way stronger than anything we're going to be seeing here. And this thing is already pretty damn powerful, right? To just be a massive water elemental that could just flood an entire village, seems pretty powerful to me, right? So, with Dragon being the world's most wanted man and having the ability to create rain and wind and storms whenever, you can go with the idea that, like, it isn't just rain, it isn't just water, it isn't just like, I summon water. Like, the clouds are actually forming and rain is occurring. It's not just summoning a liquid, it is the concept of rain. It's a rain deity, all right? So that's what Dragon probably has. And then we have an Earth God that we need to figure out, who might just be Emu. Or, well, now it wouldn't make any sense for Loki or Ratatotsker to be the Earth God. Yeah, that could be something else maybe. But yeah, we know the Sun God, we know the Earth God. I mean, we know the Sun God, we know the Water God. But yeah, we know the Sun God, we know the Rain God. Sure, make Chopper the Forest God at this point. Why not? Nice and simple, I guess. It's already there. And we'll see where it goes. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. This has been the chapter today. Teching 101 signing out. Make sure to pack an umbrella if you're going out. I hear it's going to rain today. Later.